all of us regularly struggle with not necessarily struggle, but we all deal with the question of, hey, I got all these business ideas. Which one should I do? Well, that's a really important question, because one of the things I've discovered is a lot of people don't choose using the right criteria. And so they end up in business ideas that just don't work for them. May work for somebody else, but it doesn't work for them. So let's talk about how to rank business ideas to choose which ones you should pursue. Now, this applies not only when you're just getting started, but hey, oftentimes later on, you'll have other things that come in and new business opportunities and things like that. And so we are constantly having to address this question. It's worth considering these. So because we get lots of business ideas and have to choose which one should I pursue, we should have a set of criteria that we look at. Now, most people look at things like, hey, am I any good at this? Do I have expertise in this? What's the competition like? Does it bring me joy? But unfortunately, none of those criteria, which I find to be classic criteria that a lot of people use, none of those address the key thing, which is most of us need money fast when we're trying to deal with that question. I mean, we wouldn't be dealing with the question of, hey, what new business should I start if we didn't need more money? Possibly because whatever it is that we're doing right now isn't working. And so I believe the most important criteria that we should be considering anytime we consider a new business idea include these. And they're all sort of talking about the same kind of thing. So first question, how fast to the first dollar of profit? So when am I actually going to be starting making money? If it's going to be months, if it's going to be years, it doesn't matter how big the thing is on the other side of that. You may not be able to survive in that business long enough to be able to make that first dollar. And while we're at it, how fast is it to X $1,000 a month? So let's say $10,000 a month. How long do I get till I get to the first dollar? But then how much until I've got consistent $10,000 coming in a month in profit for me? Okay. That's really important because most of us don't have a big savings that can sustain us for months and months and months and months. Oftentimes we have to make a choice of what will give me money in 90 days or 30 days or whatever. Key in that process is what's the sales cycle. So I was talking to somebody just very recently who had this brilliant potential business. The challenge was the buyers of that business are companies, and the companies are going to put hundreds of thousands of dollars into that decision. And so that decision is going to take time for those companies to make. And so the sales cycle is, I'm going to go from initial content to a whole bunch of presentations, and then finally I'm going to get a yes 6 months later, and that yes might bring in $100,000, but it's going to be 6 months before I can get to my first yes. And so recognize that sales cycle is a whole lot different if you're selling something where you got to go sell to a buyer, it's got to be considered by a committee and approved by a boss, then, hey, here's this. Should I click the buy button on this $1,000 program? Next, what investment is required? Because most of us don't have a lot of money sitting around. If it's going to cost you $100,000 to buy the equipment, the programs, and the set up the website and everything else like that, that may not be an option that is open to you. And so cut it off almost immediately because you don't want to waste time pursuing it. Next, do I have the resources? Do I have the resources to succeed in this? Whether those resources are things like, hey, have I got the email list? Will this fit with the email list that I've already built? Or do I have to go get a brand new one? Do I have the contacts? So back to that thing of the business oriented product. Do I have multiple people in business who are potential buyers for that I could just pick up because they're already in my cell phone's contact list? I can just pick up a phone and call them and say, hey, I'm thinking of starting this. Might you be interested? Do I have the skills, or do I need to go buy or build those skills? Do I have the personality? So I have a friend who was in a solid business that worked really well for him. He got sold into a program that involved direct sales to people and business owners. Turns out he's not at all interested in doing direct sales. And so that business failed for him, and he ended up going back to the thing he originally had. In the meantime, losing a large chunk of his life savings being poured into this, what sounded like a great option, but he didn't realize this requires him to go sell, and he doesn't sell well, and he's not interested in it, so he's going to fight it everywhere. So here's the thing. The answer to these questions I just gave you are very individualized. Some of them, yes, if you're going to go buy a McDonald's franchise, it's going to cost you X million dollars and X months of time and everything else like that. But many of the other things are very individualized. You've got to know whether you are right for this business or not. Now, this brings up a key recommendation in this process. Unfortunately, what I find is that many people are wanting to get a new business because they don't like the business that they're in. And so when you ask them, what are your current skills? What are your current contacts? What are your current list? What are your current everything? They're saying, yeah, I got all these things, but I really don't want, I don't like this. I don't want to be in this business anymore. But my recommendation is oftentimes go with the fastest and easiest dollars, which oftentimes means doing more of what you're doing already, or doing it in a slightly different way. But I don't like this. I want to get out of that business. That's okay. Do that. And then even if that thing that you're currently doing or that you were doing isn't your dream job, choosing the fastest and easiest enables you then to use that revenue to fund your dream. So your dream may be something that doesn't give you cash for a year. Great. Do this other thing that maybe you don't like doing quite so much, but if that can bring in all your living expenses, then you can use that to fund you while you go do the dream, so you can be doing what you really, really want to do. I hope this has been helpful for you. So recognize, if you don't have a lot of cash, you need cash fast, you need it easy, and you need to not spend a lot of money to get it. And you need to have the skills and the resources necessary to do that. Those have to be your key criteria when you're deciding which business is right for me. Experience with this? Let me know in the comments. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.